And good morning. Happy Saturday, February 26, 2022. It is just a hair before 8 a.m. Central Time. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. I do appreciate each and every one of you. This is not possible without you. If you want to contact me about anything, if you want to hire us for consulting, go to williehowe.com, fill out the contact form, click the Hire Us button. They go to the same place and reach out no matter what it is. I respond to each and every contact form, or someone does. It may take a little while to get there. You know, there are hours where we're not working, hours when we can't work. And, so it may take a little while to get back to you, but we do answer each and every one of those. So check that out. How's everybody doing this morning? Let's see how many people are here. 33 of you, 7 likes. Smash that like button to let the algorithm know that you do enjoy the content. It is now officially, according to my Fitbit, 8 a.m. So I want to real quick touch on something, and then there's going to be a follow-up video specifically about some of the hardware things, right? So part of having the channel, part of what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can take an objective look at things, and sometimes you're going to be right, sometimes you're going to be wrong. But first, I am maintaining and building this platform to build a community where we can all learn from each other, and right, wrong, or indifferent. And number 2, I would never purposefully lead you astray with technical information. That is not what anything is about. It would never be done on purpose. So I wanted to just put that out there. I'm going to follow up with a video on that a little later. But let's go over to the comments real quick and see who's with us. Good morning, Dave, Satvision, Gabriel, Michael, JH, and I believe JH emailed me about being on the Bits and Bourbon podcast. So that's right, JH. Let us know in the comments. Good morning, Stuart, Cody, Sean, Brian, Jeremy, Dennis, Gina, Blaine, Bob Carpenter, Tony with Quick Tech, Brian, good morning. Brian is in the, first time he's caught the 6 a.m. early start live from Seattle. I should maybe move the time on this. Move the day, move the time or something. Good morning. I think I said Michael. Cecil, I've got your email. We're going to be getting back with you on that. And, good morning. Good morning, D-Bot. All right. So as always, please post your comments, questions in the Wreck-It Ralph is with us. Ralph I Wreck-It. I love the nameplay there. Good morning, T and Bighorn from Nashville. So I didn't post this on my other social outside of Facebook, which is basically family, right? And good morning, Bertram. So my daughter left her sunglasses lying around. And so what I thought is that if she's going to leave her sunglasses lying around, I'm going to take a bunch of pictures for her in her sunglasses. And so it started off like this, right? With just the sunglasses and this look, right? Like a superhero. But I think I'm going to graduate to this, and I think this is a nice summer look that's starting to pop up. I don't know what you all think about that, but I think that I'm going to not force this to be my summer going out with my daughter and wife on the weekends, but if you're going to leave your sunglasses lying around, I think it's only appropriate that your dad, whose superhero name would be Middle-Aged Man, appearing wherever hot puns need to be dropped. I think if you're going to leave your sunglasses lying around, well, I think I'm going to hijack those. And just so you know, I had to take my glasses off. I can't see a damn thing without my glasses. So I got to take all this off, put my other stuff back on, and then I'll get to the comments. I don't know if should I keep the fedora? Keep the fedora? Or go back to the hat? I don't know. Anyway, just a little fun. Bet my daughter will find her sunglasses eventually. JH says, move it to 9 a.m. I could. Don't move the day, move the time. Okay, well, we'll talk about that. Good morning, Kim. Let's see. Brian says, by the way, I updated OpenSense with no issues. Had me nervous last week. I did find some issues. I found some inner VLAN issues with the latest version, and I gotta talk to somebody about that. Let's see. Bertram says IT fashion. Laughing face, laughing face, laughing face. Yeah. So yeah, right? Like, all right, there's a bunch of mixed comments. So Tony says to keep the fedora. All right, I'll go back to the fedora. I have a wall of hats, and maybe I should just cycle through the hats. All right, so Mikrotik has been doing some pretty interesting things, and we've talked about this a little bit. So check this out. I don't know if I can wear both hats, JH. That's definitely, yeah, that's not a look that's becoming at all. And we'll just flip it over. Oh, Dennis Pillow says, should we be worried about Russian hackers? You should always think about security, whether the intruder could be Russian, American, South American, Canadian, Australian, African, European, Asian, and here is so I just want to let you know that Sat Vision. So one of my moderators just approved Sat Vision's post in the comments, but Sat Vision put Mikrotik porn in the comments, and the comment got held up until somebody released it. So I'm not sure who that was. That's an okay comment, I think, but that is just one way that comments get held up. So Bob Carpenter says pfSense has issues with their dynamic DNS under 2.6. So I'm not going to get too deep into the politics, too deep into the community that is pfSense. But if you go out and you read the Reddit forum for pfSense, there's a lot of stuff happening with pfSense from the people side of things and from business decisions and things like that. And people are not happy over there on the Reddit. I forgot how far away we got from things. So here we are. Here's that Mikrotik. Look at this thing. If technology can be sexy, this is sexy. So it's the CCR 2216-1G-12XS-2XQ. Say that 5 times fast. MSRP $2,795 US. 100 gigabit networking with layer 3 hardware offloading. Millions of packets per second. Powerful Amazon. So they are running an Amazon Annapurna, I can't pronounce that, Labs, ARM version 8, 16-core CPU. There's 12 25 gigabit ports. It has dual redundant hot swap 150 watt PSUs. Of course, it has some gigabit Ethernet, but then 2 100 gigabits connections, 16 gigs of RAM, and 2 M.2 SATAs. So this thing, and they're saying this is the perfect drop-in upgrade for the CCR 1072. So one thing that I have never done, and somebody who's familiar with Mikrotik, please in the comments tell me this. Can you take the backup from the CCR 1072 and restore it directly to the CCR 2216. Is that why they are saying it's the perfect drop-in upgrade? Or are they saying that the amount of work that it takes is negligible, so it's pretty much a drop-in? Somebody please tell me that in the comments. So we were talking about hackers, right? So you should be concerned with security all over the place. Doesn't matter where the wannabe intruder is coming from. I just did a video yesterday talking about GeoIP blocking with an EdgeRouter. So you should go check that out. And I guarantee that it works. It works 100%. 100% it works. So GeoIP blocking does work. People who say that GeoIP blocking doesn't work, they likely never implemented it or implemented it in a way that they could test it, but it does work. JH says, have you played with the Allied Telesys switches before? Briefly. I've pulled a lot of them out of service. And somebody was trying to get us hooked up with Allied Telesys, and Allied Telesys was basically just they didn't respond at all, which is cool. So Robert Ridley says that the drop-in is as per performance. I mean, the one thing it does say is that you can keep using your SFP modules and your PSUs, right? So, I mean, that's cool. You can pull your PSUs from another unit. You can pull your SFP modules. That's one thing, going in between brands. I mean, here you're not going in between brands, but sometimes when you're doing network upgrades, you can't always be guaranteed that your SFP modules are going to work. So you can definitely check this out. 100 gigabit. I mean, I don't even have a lab built out where I can stress test 100 gig for long periods of time, right? So I can take it in as 100 gig and I can break it down into the 25 gig and we can handle it there, and then we could or split it out into multiple 10 gigs and we could test it that way. But I don't have anything at the moment that has a 100 gig connection here in the lab. All right, Mikrotik 802.11ay is here, and the 802.11ay standard gives you 60 gigahertz over higher distances, has better stability, speed, and convenience. So they are taking full advantage of that. Mikrotik pumps out so much hardware so quickly. And as far as I've been told, they don't do reviewer units. So that, you know, everything Mikrotik, it comes out so fast, I don't even know what to buy. The price is right? You can really afford anything Mikrotik. So if you're building a home lab, if you've got people who are trying to learn networking, Mikrotik, the EdgeRouter, GrandStream, a lot of these things, the price is right to be able to learn. And look at this, an entire router on a PCIe card, right? An entire router on a PCIe card, 25 gigabit networks. Absolutely amazing. And look at the price, $199. Good Lord. Mikrotik is, they're fantastic, first of all. Second of all, they're killing their competitors with some of this stuff. So here is another switch that they've got. This is the CRS 310 1G 5S 4S plus IN. Say that 5 times fast. 10 gigabit fiber connectivity, way over, I love the marketing jargon, way over 100 meters. Well, how much is way over 100 meters? Is way over 100 meters almost 200 meters? I don't know. But I think I'm going to get my hands on one of these. So it's got 5 1 gig SFP ports, 4 10 gig SFP ports. I think I'm going to buy one of these and see what the performance is like. You can mount this switch in a standard 1U rack. So it must have some rack ears. So if you don't check out Mikrotik's newsletter, it is free. And It's right on the front page of their website, so you can always go check it out. All right, let's go over to the comments. Viewer comments. We haven't had, let me go back into the comments here. Brian says, geo blocking easy to bypass a VPN, probably why folks say it doesn't work. So while you could bypass it, when we are blocking entire countries, and a lot of these things that are happening to get to you as a single user, so this is a conversation that you've got to have, and this is going to hurt feelings, right? But an entire country may not attack a single person, right? Is Willie Howe going to take, as a person, going to take an attack from an entire country? Probably not. Am I going to get some script kiddies? Probably, right? And I can show you that with the router. But are certain types of entities and certain types of corporations going to be targets and be specifically targeted? Yes. It's all about opportunity cost and the soft costs and all those things, right? So the country of, just make up a country, right? The country of Scotland does not care enough about what Willie Howe is doing to spend the resources that it would take to break into my encrypted conversations, right? But does Scotland care what our president's doing? Does Scotland care? Now, I just use Scotland as an example, so don't get crazy. They're not doing anything. I just plucked a country out of the air. You know, but do they care what somebody in Taiwan is doing? You know what I mean? So there's a lot about that. So a lot of this stuff that's happening where they're just sending out like mass amounts of information, they're not behind a VPN, right? And so don't think that you're special a lot of times and you're specifically getting targeted, or that your network is special. Don't think that your network is so special that you may be specifically targeted, unless you know you're in one of those higher risk factors, government, manufacturing, specifically, military type vehicles, military goods, things like that. You know, unless you're in that, then you might be very specifically targeted. But a lot of this stuff we're seeing at the home level is just stuff that's just sent out. You know, even at some of the business level, it's stuff that they have scanned the internet using, bots and scripts. They found something that's interesting, and then they start targeting it. But it's not like they are trying to necessarily get inside and get, to files or things like that. It could be looking for like an SMTP relay. It could be looking for a weak web server to break into to host files. So your mileage may vary on that. But yes, you could probably bypass it, Brian, with a VPN. But the entire country of Russia, I think somebody would notice if the entire country of Ukraine or Russia or China was behind a VPN because of the massive amount of traffic coming from an internal United States IP address. So, yeah, there's all kinds of logistics and things that are involved in that. Let's see. Ralph says, how is Mikrotik lead time? I don't know. I haven't bought any of the higher end stuff, and some of the lower end stuff is readily available where I do purchase. Your mileage will vary on that too, depending on what you're looking at, because like EdgeRouters, I've heard that the next shipment of EdgeRouters is not going to hit the country until July, right? So, and Brian Murray is exactly correct. I see many scans from Chinese IPs on my web server, so it's still a good idea to block by GeoIP. Morning, David Anderson. Gabriel says, if you have open ports on your firewall, you need GeoIP blocking and then IPS. If you have a web server, use a WAF. So WAF is a web application firewall. It is essentially a proxy, Cloudflare. Think about taking Cloudflare and scrunching it down, or a KME, and scrunching it down, putting it in a box or a piece of software and putting it in front of your website. That's one type of web application firewall. For WordPress, there's also WordFence, which integrates in and then uses the power of the cloud. So there's all kinds of ways to skin this cat. Excuse me. I'm just looking at the comments here. Yeah, so David Anderson says, tried that global blocking, pissed off my daughter. Apparently, lots of the web apps she uses are hosted outside the U.S. So, yes, ran into an issue with Discord yesterday. When we only allowed the United States and Canada, it blocks voice chat on Discord. So, where is Discord sending your voice chat? Is it sending it to Ireland? Is it sending it to India? And then they've got servers somewhere else. I don't know where your voice chat is going. I don't know if it's encrypted. I don't use Discord. We had a Discord channel, and we're trying to build a forum and transition over to that. Also, interestingly enough, the FedEx app for tracking packages does not work on an Android phone when you only allow traffic from the United States and Canada. So not sure where the FedEx servers are. UPS worked just fine, but the FedEx app did not work. But guess what? Telnex phone calls to Chicago worked just fine. Let's see. Yeah, Bob Carpenter says they mostly seem to be looking for hardware that has known vulnerabilities and use your device as a bot, specifically for things like DDoS attacks, drive-by scanning. Yeah, that is correct. And then the SMTP relay thing is also a thing, right? So make sure you're checking your SMTP, your spam filters, and see what kind of influx of traffic you've had. JH, you can do that load balancer. I would probably, if it's a hardware appliance, I'm probably going to put the load balancer before the web app firewall. Unless I'm using Cloudflare as my web app firewall, then it doesn't really matter. Gabriel says, for me, the best way to learn networking was to take Cisco classes at college at DuPage, and then I got my CCNA. Yeah, everybody learns differently. Some people learn hands-on. Some people learn by watching videos. The important thing is, can you take what you've learned and actually transition it into real-world usage, real-world, things. Billy says, I bought a security certificate and I need to transfer that to my USG. So, Billy, you don't actually put the security certificate on the USG. It goes on your controller. Check out, I did a video last year about doing Unify OS SSL certificates. That's the easiest way to do it, and the path should work. David Anderson says, had a weird experience in Minnesota. We were at a Hilton and my Amazon account thought I was in Brazil. What the hell? Why would that happen? So it could be that they were using some sort of that this Hilton is using a managed service. And this is just a hypothetical that I'm coming up with off the top of my head. It could be that somehow the traffic from Hilton was tunneled somewhere else. So you gotta watch out for that. Hilton also got sued a few years back for blocking 802.Wi-Fi in some of their hotels. They were blocking customers from using hotspots, and so you would have to buy their Wi-Fi. And they got a pretty good fine for that. Satvision says, have you seen the Firewall of Gold? And if so, is it any good? Usually go PF sense otherwise. So I've reached out to Firewalla. I would love to just see if they would ship me a unit so I could use it, do some videos on it, and ship it back. And they have not responded. They do not respond to me for some reason. And Tony over at QuickTech has also reached out. So the only way for us apparently to get one of those boxes for testing is to spend our money, which I may do this year. We'll see. So Billy, one of the best ways that I learn is to buy inexpensive gear and outfit my lab. When I first started with Ubiquiti, I bought 5 EdgeRouter X's. So at the time they were $49 with free shipping. And then I bought 4 Raspberry Pis and I built a server cluster out of Raspberry Pis. And then I had the routers. That was the very first lab that I built. Now I have 4 racks full of equipment. But that was the first like lab. You know, I always had equipment kind of laying around, hook it up and stuff like that. But as far as a lab, I had some CCNA gear, but when I'm saying lab, like this is something that is online right now. We can go test something, we can tear it up, you know, break it down. I've had, you know, that lab up and running now since like 2015, and it changes all the time. But Billy, if you go to Reddit, Home Lab, I'm not a huge Reddit person. I basically use it for bourbon and whiskey stuff. But let me pull up the Reddit Home Lab. And let's take a look over there. So if we go over here, yeah, here's the, it's reddit.com/r/homelab. And you can learn a lot from all of these folks that are over there. And also what I would like you to all do is our friend Dale, who I'm working on a network monitoring project with, has shipped us 2 boxes of equipment. A couple pieces I will keep, but we're going to open the boxes and do a video on everything in the box. In fact, I'm going to open the box upside down. I might do a live stream with it. Maybe we'll do a bits and bourbon with it, and we'll just pull each thing out and talk about what it is. But we are going to give away, thanks to Dale, we are going to be giving away a lot of equipment. You're going to be able to win the equipment, and we're going to ship it to you at no charge. And so that would be a really great way. Get into giveaways and stuff like that. Buy what you can, but definitely watch the channel. And I'm going to be talking about the giveaways and things like that. But we're going to give away most of this equipment for people to build home labs. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It. I keep saying Wreck-It Ralph's one of my favorite movies, especially when Wreck-It Ralph breaks the internet. And let's see. Wreck-It Ralph says, "Does anyone offer training on DNS config? I've been doing a lot of it lately for SFP, DMARC, and DKIM. It is hard to get all the text format correct, though." That's one of those things that we could do a video on. In fact, somebody asked if we could do a DKIM video and show setting up DNS. If you go way back, I have a bind setup video. Maybe I should do a Synology and a Windows server. Maybe I should just, you know, do like a comparison and do those. But there's quite a few different DNS servers, but a lot of them are going to be based on bind, right? If it's something that's a Linux platform, the DNS server is likely going to be based on bind. All right. Tony says, Willie Howe agreed. I learned by hands-on learning and on job demands. Yep. Took courses afterwards. Yeah. Yep. And David Anderson says, excuse me, "Don't seem to have a problem learning stuff, just can't retain it anymore. So when I need it, I have to learn it again." And JH says, "Yep, if you don't use it, you lose it." So that is one reason I keep a lot of documentation. That's one reason that I create videos, right? Videos are a brain dump sometimes of what we've done, but I've got the Remarkable that has, at this point, hundreds of pages of documentation for things. I have notebooks with things scattered, believe it or not, and I'm not going to show you I'll show you. I'll kind of flash it a little bit, right? But I have this calendar that my wife got me, the Dad Joke a Day calendar. So like the 24th was, "How was Rome split in two?" With a pair of Caesars. I love that. But like every day when I pull it off, like you hear about people sitting in bars with napkins and they're scrabbling, you know, putting stuff on, you know, I have a stack of these and I use these. And so I literally have these all over my desk and I'm crossing things off. I keep Excel sheets. You know, I've been trying to get better at like writing my ideas down. And since I had the Rona, it's been especially important to me. Now I'm not tired now until like 7 p.m., ready for bed till like 7 p.m. Central. I'm hoping that extends and then I fully get all that energy back. But I have had to write absolutely everything down that is important just to make sure. So, and Dale is with us. Good morning, sir. Careful, one box is kind of heavy. That is fantastic, Dale. I appreciate that, and everybody here is going to appreciate it. And we got to get your monitoring stuff going too. Dave Robertson says, I hate to tell you, but it gets worse as you get older. Yeah. Well, that does happen. Way to bring us down. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So Bob did post the Reddit links there. Hey, so Jeremy just posted Unbound is a Linux DNS server which is easier to set up than Bind. Is it an actual? I don't know if Unbound. I know Unbound works in OpenSense, but I didn't know if Unbound was its own DNS server or if it was Bind under the hood with the Unbound like layer on top. So Unbound is its own server, Jeremy? Ralph says document, screenshot, everything comes in handy. Yes, and Einstein is credited with saying, don't ever memorize anything you can write down, right? So that's hard to do, but yeah. JH says, you want a complicated DNS that scales very well, look at Nokia QIP. Is it free? Let's see. Over to the internet machine, and I'm going to type in Nokia QIP. Vital QIP. Let's see. Let's switch over. Yep, we accept your cookies. Remove the complexity of IP address management. Nokia Vital QIP is the industry's proven open and scalable DDI, so domain name system, dynamic host, so DHCP. Oh, so they rolled all this into they've rolled all this into one. And JH says, no, it's far from free. So I wonder how much it is, but it looks like it rolls everything. It's so expensive that you have to contact sales. That's when you know things are expensive, when they don't list the price on the site. CT says, are Mikrotik routers a good replacement for EdgeRouters? Thoughts, pros, and cons. So I'm going to do a video on this, but it depends what your use case is. And that statement right there should cover every decision you make about networking equipment, right? So you're not shoving square pegs in round holes. The EdgeRouter can't do a lot of things that Mikrotik can do, but the EdgeRouter can do things better that the Mikrotik has trouble doing. Example, multiple WAN interfaces with failover. The EdgeRouter makes it super easy. The last time I did it with a Mikrotik, you had to have some scripting involved and things like that. Just a little different way of thinking about it. However, when you start looking at provider networks and scaling, Mikrotik can do things, MPLS and Ethernet tunnels and things like that the EdgeRouter can't do. The EdgeRouter sucks at IP version 6. It sucks unless you install a bunch of stuff under the hood and you want to manage it that way. Then if you want to use those Debian packages, it'll work. I don't want to do those Debian packages for that, right? GeoIP blocking, that's one thing, but I don't want to have to manage my IP version 6 DHCP under the hood on an EdgeRouter. I'm just going to use a different box and do my IP version 6 with that. But Mikrotik handles IP version 6 fantastically. So it's like, it's interesting. So Admin Engineer says Mikrotik can do it super easy with Mangle. Okay, so here's what I want to know. Admin Engineer, because Admin Engineer is huge into Mikrotik. So the last time that I did failover with Mikrotik, what I had to do is I had to use unequal routes and then have a script that would control the traffic. Do you still have to do it that way? Using unequal routes. So let me know. I also am upgrading from the Pixel 3 to the Pixel 6. I'm super excited about that. What I'm not excited about is that Google ended support after 3 years for the Pixel 3. What I am excited about is the Pixel 5 is going to get at least 5 years of support, or the Pixel 6 is going to get at least 5 years of support. So I am happy about that. I don't like having to buy new phones. So admin engineer says, I'll send you my examples. Can you just give us a yes or no? What I described with having to use unequal routes and scripts, is that still the way you have to do it? Just yes or no. We don't need to get into details, and we can talk about that in a video. Yeah, and David Anderson says that my phone camera is my memory. Google screwed me when they took away unlimited. So yes, so you could switch to Synology on that, or you could pay I think I pay for now, because I'm going to show you some migration videos, but for now I think I pay $3 a month for that. So JH says for the last Nokia installation for their IP management, their dynamic or their DNS and their DHCP, he paid $5,000 for the 500. Whew. I just went to Jupiter with that. $500,000 for the software. That's crazy. What's the annual maintenance fee on that, JH, when you pay for a $500,000 license? I'm guessing $50,000, $100,000 a year maybe. Or does it come with lifetime support for 500 Gs, 500K? JH says, I've even seen a Mikrotik. Yeah, so Mikrotik can do CGNAT or carrier grade NAT. EdgeRouter cannot do carrier grade NAT. What else can the EdgeRouter? The EdgeRouter and the USG cannot NAT a VPN connection to a public IP. And we ran into this. We tried to do an ASA to USG and then an ASA to an EdgeRouter configuration, and Ubiquiti finally, in an email, in a ticket, told me, no, it cannot do this. But so like when you work with a large company like Ford Motor Company, right, they can't have everybody, for security reasons, for management reasons, they cannot have, like in a traditional site-to-site that you've seen us do here, right? You've got subnet A on the left and subnet B on the right, and then they can talk through the tunnel. Well, they can still do that with the Ford Motor Company stuff, but you don't have direct access, right? What it does is you NAT, they use your public IP as the, JH, help me out here. I'm struggling with what the proper word is for this. But what happens is, let's say on this side, I've got 192.168.1 network here, but I've got 1.1.1.1 as my public IP here, right? The VPN is connecting to 1.1. It's not doing the tunnel, the whole subnet behind it, right? There's some NAT happening. I cannot remember what it's called, but anyway, edge routers and USGs cannot do that. JH says, so admin engineer says no. Edge can't do source NAT that I'm aware of. Is that what that's called? Because it can do source NAT, SNAT, right? But it can't do what, is it source NAT? It's killing me on what that is called. I can't even think of it. But please do send me your samples. I'm going to totally butcher your name, and I am sorry ahead of time. Shawaz? Just joining in, have you ever set up OpenSense virtualized within ESXi using lag LACP bonding on the switch for LAN? So the ESXi side, if I'm understanding correctly, how we've done it is that ESXi is where you're going to take multiple physical NICs and you're going to use them as one NIC, right? So over to a physical switch. So yes, we have done that. I've not done it with OpenSense and ESXi, but I have done it with OpenSense and other hypervisors. But we have done what you're talking about with ESXi, just not specifically with OpenSense. 15% for maintenance. Holy cow. Let me pop up the old calculator, because my daughter ended up drinking a lot of the coffee this morning. And so I haven't had that much coffee, times 15%. $75,000 a year in maintenance. That is insane. They could, if with 2 installs or 3 installs, they could have an engineer specifically dedicated to just that product. And I'm sure they have multiple. And they could have 3 engineers. If they had 9 installations, 10 installations, pay them a handsome salary, and have 24/7 support. Crazy. JH says 2,000 locations and the DHCP was on a switch at each location. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. Nat T, I cannot remember what it is. But JH knows what I'm talking about. I'm 100% sure admin engineer knows what I'm talking about too. David Anderson said, just found out my Google Pixel 5 cannot do Wi-Fi calling on US Cellular. They disable it. Okay, here you go. So my Pixel 6 came directly from Google. However, you have to have the Pixel 6 or an iPhone, from what I understand, and maybe you can do it on no, it's just a Pixel 3. Sorry. I bought this from US Cellular, and the Pixel 3 cannot do Wi-Fi calling. Everyone else in the house, so one big honking Samsung phone and then 3 iPhones can all do Wi-Fi calling. The dude that built the network cannot do Wi-Fi calling, but I'm going to have them make sure that they can turn it on. So US Cellular, you can't even get the Pixel 6 through US Cellular right now. You have to order it, and then it's back ordered, and you can't get it in the store and everything. So I just bought mine from Google. So, Ralph, Starlink uses CGNAT. So it's not necessarily double NAT, but it's carrier grade NAT. Let's see. Dennis says, Mikrotik CCR devices are just amazing. I still have to try 7. I still have to get 7 loaded. We should do a 6 to 7 upgrade video. So, Admin Engineer says, what I love about Mikrotik is the cheapest device license can do just about everything that the most expensive one can do, but not in the same capacity. But there's usually never the limit. Hardware usually yes. So like this box, this is one of my favorite Mikrotik boxes. This is the Hex. Which one exactly is this? The Hex S. But you'll see it's got an SD card slot on the side. This can do everything the big boys can do, but it can also run the Dude. So the Dude is the Mikrotik management platform, and you can run it on this router. So they're different. They have a different way of doing business, right? All right. So Mikrotik, and JH, can you put in the comments what your you already okay, so we'll talk about that. That's what most of the complaints are. Jacob Johnson says, for $75,000 a year, couldn't they just hire someone on site to manage the network? So when you have a full-time employee, though, you got to remember you've got other costs, right? You've got the cost of health insurance. You've got the cost of workers' comp insurance. Now, a lot of people think that workers' comp is like a government benefit. It's not. Private employers in the United States have to buy insurance, unemployment insurance. And so like when somebody says like, it's a government handout. No, well, you have to have workers' comp or, there's unemployment insurance and there's workers' comp insurance. There's all kinds of things that have an employee, right? So my best guess would be based on where you're at, based on whether you're in a pension or some sort of retirement plan. If you've got a $75,000 base salary, I'm going to say that your total comp, so this is all of your benefits, including healthcare, I'm going to say that the company is probably paying about $110,000 maybe for that employee, right? So there's a little bit of a layer on top of that, but that's the cost of doing business. That's the cost of attracting talent to your business. So, so could you hire somebody for 75 if you were going to pay them 50, but they may not, be happy with that. Let's see here. So this is what JH said. And JH, thank you for putting this out there. JH says, I love the TIC hardware, but I can't sell it, or so I never get to use it much, and I can't get around the learning curve. The learning curve, it is different. It is different than Cisco. It is different. A lot of these companies, they borrow engineers, they steal engineers from each other. A lot of stuff gets implemented the same way. So like most of the vendors now have tab complete, right? You see a lot of similar commands. There's even been lawsuits over it. Mikrotik is quite a bit different, and it does have a hell of a learning curve. And so that is the thing, right? It takes some time to learn it. Good morning, Alonzo. T.N. Bighorn says the only bad thing about Wi-Fi calling is when you leave the office or the house, it doesn't do a seamless changeover. The other thing is with Verizon, so when I did Wi-Fi calling with a Verizon phone here, it makes you put an E911 address in, and then if you're doing Wi-Fi calling at another network, you have to remember to update your E911 address. So let's see here. Michael Borg says, when is the GWN 7664 video coming? Looking at an upgrade found online for $200. It's coming soon. I had to get through the email hosting video, and now I need to do a follow-up on the email hosting video as well. But yeah, I'm going to throw that video out there probably this week. JH says, I can't tell you the client, but it has a ton of air gap networks that need IP management that can't be done remotely. Cool. But that's still a lot of money. So, but I get what you're saying, 100%. Let's see. Admin Engineer says, I also just set up a script that you can run on your TIC that will block all traffic and attacks from Russian Federation IP addresses. It works well and doesn't slow your box. I'll send it to you. Fantastic. We'll do a video on that one. We'll do a video on, so I already did the Unify, just did an EdgeRouter. We'll do a Synology video. Oh, and if you follow me on other socials, you know that last week I posted a video and some pictures of the new Synology router. I was not supposed to do that. I didn't realize that pictures were under embargo. So until March 3rd, I'll have to go back and look at the email. I'm under embargo, so I had to take those social media postings down, and then I can do videos like March 15th of the functionality. So be watching out for those. So, but we'll use the RTC 2600 AC, do our geo blocking on that. We'll do one on the Mikrotik. So thank you, Admin Engineer, for sending that script over. We'll make sure we credit you in that video. Robert says, if you use the Router OS 7 release candidates, there can be some bumps, but Mikrotik is pretty fast with updates if you open a ticket. I had a fix in a few hours. That's good to know. Which one is the RB5009? Let me pull that up real quick. Everybody's buzzing about the RB5009, and I got to be able to type my search engine correctly. So that's RB5009. Oh, is this their new, is this, yeah, okay. So this is the ruggedized router board, the ultimate heavy-duty home lab router with USB 3, 1 gig and 2.5 gig Ethernet and a 10 gig SFP plus cage. You can mount 4 of these new routers in a single one use, so they must not be that wide. So they must be, well, we can estimate how wide they are. They're probably twice as wide as this, right? So, and they're thin. So I'm assuming that to get 4 of them, you're stacking them, right? So I may have to. I don't know if my reseller has this yet. I'll have to check that out. If they do, I'll have to get one. I'll have to get one on order. And yeah, Bob Carpenter's right. Nothing boots faster than a Mikrotik. Truth. And they boot so fast sometimes that you wonder if you made a mistake. Ralph says, the learning curve is what keeps me from using Ubiquiti switches. The VLAN setup is just too different from what I know. So in the UI, it's super duper easy. Maybe I'll do an Edge switch VLAN video because I've done Unify. I need to do a Cisco, a Juniper, an Extreme. I don't have a Brocade for the lab yet. I got an HP. Yeah, we can just knock those out. Those are nice, easy videos that people, I think, would get a tremendous amount out of. So we can do those. T.N. Bighorn says, my wife had trouble with her phone calls always dropping out at the house when she'd leave in the morning. Yep. Yep. Let's see here. Ivan says backwards compatibility for Mikrotik is great. Running a few RB450Gs for small offices, and they are now on version 7. That's awesome. Robert Ridley says, Michael Berg, get quotes for the GWN 7664s. You might be able to get it even cheaper. Yeah, Michael, reach out to me via email. I'll hook you up with my reseller, and we'll see what we can hook you up with. So that's the thing. I never personally handle hardware because I don't want to deal with the tax burden. So what I do is I introduce you to my reseller, and you buy at the same price as me. I never make money on marking up hardware. Admin engineer says the RB4011 is the best. Let's see. Bob says it's a half rack. You can fit 2 in a 19-inch rack, right? So does that mean that you can stack them, right? Because it's saying you can fit 4 in a single 1U rack mount space. So are they just saying that's how small they are, or can you stack them, right? So there's 4 actually in a 1U. I don't know. So let's talk about that. So admin engineer says edge switch VLANs is so much better than Unify VLANs. So I have to agree, because here's the thing. Let me pull up. Oh, uno momento, por favors. Let's see here. Let me get logged into my Unify portal. And then let me get logged into my switch, my edge switch. So bear with me for just a minute here. 66.144. I log into the switch so infrequently that I couldn't remember. But let me pull up my UDM Pro. Let me move my window over here where you can all see this. All right. So what we are talking about is the difference between edge switch credentials. Holy cow. What we were talking about is a difference in VLANs on a Unify switch versus an edge switch. So I'll do a video on this. But here's the biggest thing. And for me, it's actually kind of a thing, right? Because Unify wants to make things so easy that they're doing things in a way we wouldn't normally suggest them as best practice, right? But let's talk about that, right? So if I go over my settings and I go over to my networks, you can see that I've got all of these VLANs, except I can't see the VLAN numbers. So let me switch back over to this because I couldn't see the VLAN numbers. Justin Kinsey says, what's your thoughts on the new Unify Enterprise switches? So I've got an enterprise switch, but the thing is, who's defining what the word enterprise means, right? That's what we should be. Just because Unify calls it enterprise doesn't mean JH is going to use it in what he considers to be an enterprise client, right? So that's one thing that we've got to talk about. All right, so anyway, we're over here to networks, and you can see I've got all of these different VLANs. So if I go over to my Unify switch, and I go to my layer 3 test switch, and I go to a port, and I'm just going to pick on port 1 as an example. By default, the switch port profile is all, which means that all VLANs, this is essentially a trunk port, because all VLANs are fed to that port. If I only want a certain VLAN, I have to select that. which VLAN I want on there, or I have to select a custom. I always do a custom one for voice, but all means that all VLAN tags are allowed on that port. Whereas if we come over here to the edge switch and we create a VLAN, I'm just going to create one that doesn't exist. I'm going to say 303. And I apply that. When I create 303, look, it is 303 is exempted from all the ports by default, which is how it should be. This is how it should be. Unify strives to simplify things and inadvertently does things that we normally wouldn't recommend. So, as a best practice, we should probably be coming in here and selecting just the network that's going to be on that port, unless this is an uplink port for an AP, or this is an uplink port for a switch. So, yeah, you shouldn't be allowing all those VLANs across there by default. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, if that makes sense, that's one big, huge thing that I don't like about the way that the Unify system does things. So, 212 Help Desk says, does Mikrotik sell an SD-WAN similar to the TP-Link Omada? Probably. But here's the thing. SD-WAN, it depends what you're defining as SD-WAN, right? Is it just policy-based routing, or is it aggregating multiple WAN connections to make them look as one? TP-Link cannot do that. Ubiquiti cannot do that. I don't know if Mikrotik can do that, but when you use a Mushroom Networks device or a Peplink device, there's a service you pay for that actually does that. So, and Niraj says, use zero tier on Mikrotik for SD networking. So yeah, zero tier, something is happening with the zero tier plugin on OpenSense is unreliable right now. And so I'm hoping that they get that fixed. But I need to test zero tier on Mikrotik. I need to get the EdgeRouter back up and going to it. So, all right, well, I want to thank you all for being here. Like I said, if you need to reach out, if you want to yell at me, if you want to have a conversation, if you want to be a guest on the new podcast that's coming out, if you need IT consulting, go to williehowe.com. I want to thank you for spending time with me on this Saturday morning. I hope you're all doing well. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody.